hear from Nicole Craig.
All right, hi everybody. How are we doing today? Happy to see a lot of my friends in the audience. Thank you for being here and to my new friends I'm about to make. I'm Nicole Craig. I am Belize's country coordinator for Healthy Reefs for Healthy People. And me and my colleagues on this slide here want to talk to you a bit about actions to restore enabling conditions for corals in the Mesoamerican Reef, which pretty much means what can we do to make the Mesoamerican Reef a place corals actually want to stay. So the Mesoamerican Reef runs along 4 countries: Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and it is a 1,000-kilometer long coastline shared by over 3 million people, and we benefit over $5 billion US per year from fishing, tourism, coastal protection, and it's a really biodiverse hotspot. So to manage that and keep it biodiverse, there's a lot of work involved. And it's mainly done through collaboration of over 70 partners that work together to, first of all, monitor our reef. And through all that hard work, we generate report cards, eco audits, and media that's supposed to then feed back into management, improving our policies, improving management, and then ultimately we should have healthier reefs. And how do we know if we do? We have to go back and monitor again. And it's an endless cycle, but a good one, and one that's necessary and expensive. And this is all of us, over 70 partners working together. So I am not Healthy Reefs, Melanie is not Healthy Reefs, but everybody on that page really is Healthy Reefs. It's a lot of work, a lot of communication, and a lot of people to keep smiling. It's pretty tough sometimes in some of those rooms. But yes, this is what we've been doing since 2006. We make the Reef Report Card, which is an overview of reef health in that region. Starting off in 2006, which was the first one, a score of 2.3, and that equates to a score of poor. And so over time, we see that change is possible, but slow and very difficult to achieve. And over the last 2 report cards, there was a decline in reef health. And now here in 2022, we see that reef health is back to where it was when we first started all this work. And this is a quick overview of what you're going to see in that report card. 234 sites surveyed in the region. And unfortunately, only 5% of those sites are good or very good. I know we were talking about color codes earlier, and so we have a similar kind of setup: blue and green, essentially good, very good; orange and red, critical and poor. And over time, we have been seeing more and more. This time, almost about a third of our sites are in critical condition, and that's just not overall for the MAR. You can look at each individual country and see majority of the sites are critical or poor. And we measure 4 indicators in our report card: coral cover, macroalgae cover. We measure herbivorous and commercial fish biomass, but I want to look at 2 of those indicators quickly over time: coral cover and fleshy macroalgae. Coral cover is holding pretty steady at like 19, just below good. I'm not sure why that says 5%. It really is a 1% increase to get to good. Unlike fleshy macroalgae, which is at 22% and needs to decrease to 5% to be in the same good category. So we understand the goal we're really working towards is increasing coral cover and at the same time reducing macroalgae or increasing herbivory. And so a couple ways to approach that, one of which is coral restoration. And there are a lot of coral restoration initiatives happening in the MAR, which, I don't really have to get into all the details of all of them, but it's just an example of whether it's asexual, like what Fragments of Hope started off doing, evolving into, assisted fertilization efforts. All across our region, we have many ongoing efforts. So the other side of that is herbivory, looking at the herbivores who naturally, live on our reef and graze on this algae: herbivorous fish, urchins, and herbivorous crabs. And so looking at the way that these organisms, first of all, approach herbivory, which is all different and complementary, and then, of course, understanding what we can do to increase their impact, increase their populations. So we started off with parrotfish, which is, I think, a big win for our region. We have parrotfish fully protected, at least in some way, in our region. In Belize, it's nationally. In Honduras, it's in the Bay Islands. And in Guatemala, it's full, but it's a ban that's renewed twice now. As for what that low fishing pressure or no fishing pressure on herbivorous fish would do to your population, you'd see an increase. But for example, in Belize, a ban in 2009 only saw herbivorous fish biomass back in that good threshold after 10 years. And unfortunately, if you keep looking at that aqua or green line, depending on your level of color blindness, right after 2018, when we were in good, it is back down to about half of where it originally was, and even below the first time we did a survey for herbivorous fish. So very alarming at what's happening on our reef fish biomass wise, even with protection. And then of course the diadema, still recovering from decades ago of impacts on their population, and only now to hear there is a new threat. I have not heard of it yet in Belize, but we are definitely on the lookout for it. But from our benthic surveys that we did in 2021, we see that we have diadema on most of our sites, but in very, very low numbers. So one of the efforts that started but unfortunately got halted due to COVID were some translocation or relocation projects, and they were supposed to also do restructuring of the habitat to make it more enticing for them to stay, but it never really took off. So we're hoping that, the effort will restart, and that we'll be able to report on what those kinds of efforts would do, if it's a positive impact or not. As opposed to the herbivorous crab, which we're really excited about, and we do have something to tell you about. This is a big project for Healthy Reefs at the moment, and we like them because although they're cryptic, they're great at grazing. They're really impactful, and we've seen that for ourselves with some studies that we've done. And it seems that they really take to the kind of algae we want to get rid of. So that works in abundance for us. The work that we're doing really builds upon work that already existed. We have Dr. Walter Adey and Dr. Spadaro. There he is right there, walking in the room, calling you out. And Dr. Mark Butler, whose work really has helped us, take off and save a lot of time, not reinventing the wheel. And through building upon that, we learned how fast they grow, how pretty easy it is to culture them, relatively speaking, easy is relatively speaking, and how short that larval stage really is to get them into a cycle of growth. And the most lucrative thing about them, I think, is their high market value. It's something that we think we can use to lure in fishermen to want to be a part of this project, to take it beyond our initial investigation of the impact on herbivory, but more an alternative livelihood source. So quickly, a quick look at what's going on in Mexico. Hi, Sarah. If they have questions, I'm sending them your way. This is something Sarah will talk more about. She has a poster this evening that she'll show us. But essentially, Inapesca tried it out in a controlled environment, trying to recreate as much of the natural environment as they could, with sand, with rocks, with hiding places, and with the algae that they like. This is how they figured out how to keep the algae in one spot in the cage. And once the crabs got comfortable, pretty much, they began to produce eggs right away. And after that, is where you have the challenge of understanding now how do we keep them alive once we get them alive. And so closing that loop, I understand, took about 2 years, getting them from an adult female with eggs, 2 larvae, 2 crabs that you actually could put back on the reef. And fortunately enough, there are some crabs in the system at this time that started off as larvae that grew up to be part of the broodstock. So that's incredible that they've managed to close that loop and learn a lot of things along the way, how to take care of them at every stage, especially in the beginning when they're about 1 millimeter in size, very translucent and very delicate. The kind of water flow, water quality that they needed each step of the way, and some of the important challenges like cannibalism and predation they've managed to overcome and answer questions on. All of this, I don't want to say means nothing, but it kind of doesn't if we don't actually address some of the root issues like water quality. And I know for a fact that I could speak for Belize, nothing has really changed on our end, and we could be positive we want an area of opportunity, but that really means we've done nothing in 10 years. And so all in that space of time, we have no additional water treatment systems, and they haven't improved in any way. And so it's kind of counteracting what we're trying to do, and it's urgent that we are real about it and try to address it. So the best that we can do at Healthy Reefs is be a part of advocacy. We know that Honduras and Belize, have ratified the LBS protocol for the Cartagena Convention, and Mexico has similar standards in place. And then our previous Honduras coordinator has been really instrumental in a water association creation in Honduras. And then we also are a part of Water Our Right, which is an advocacy campaign really focused on having people understand and be knowledgeable about their right to clean water. And clean water includes the water that lives, or that's out there that our reef lives in. And we are also engaged in a water quality monitoring project across the Mar as well. I really thought I removed this slide, but I did not. Because these are things we're doing, and I was not sure what they were. That's why I removed them. So thank you, thank you very much for your attention today. This is a picture of us from our last partner meeting. If you have any questions, just let me know, and that's how you can reach us on social media. Thank you.